Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Pradajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Kanda Radha Kunda Giri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki jai, Swami the Bhaktivinoda ki jai, all glories to the all glories to the Thank you very much.
I'm sure you've heard how Grammarly improves your writing, but let me tell you how Grammarly Business
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
Dandava Pranam Guru Maharaj. You're welcome, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. Okay, so we had Kirtan already, and
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya. Naram chaiva narottamam. Devim Sarasatim Vyasam. Tato Jayamudiraye. Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Okay, text number 17, chapter 10, first canto, correct?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Sita tapatram
Sita Tapatram
Jagraha
Jagraha
Muktadama
Muktadama
Vibhushitam
Vibhushitam
Ratnadandam
Dadam Ratnadadam
Udakesha
Udakesha
Priya
Priya
Priyatamasya
Yatamasya
Ha Sita tapatram jagraha
Sita Tapatram Jagraha
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Priyatamasyaha
Priya Tamasyaha
Sita tapatram jagraha
Sita Tapatram Jagraha
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Priyatamasyaha
Priya Tamasyaha
Sita tapatram jagraha
Sita Tapatram Jagraha
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Priyatamasyaha.
Priya Tamasyaha.
Okay, others?
Maharaj, back to the other Maharaj. Maharaj, please, you can mute yourself and read if you are. Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
hearing.
Maharaj. Yeah, please go ahead, Maharaj.
Sita patram jagraha Muktadhama Vibhusitam
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Radnadhandan Gudakesha
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Priya Tamasyaha
Priya Tamasyaha Sita Tapatram Jagraha
Sita tapra jagraha
Muktadama Vibhushitam
Muktadhama Vibhusitam
Ratnadandam Gudakesha
Radnadhandan Gudakesha
Priya Tamasyaha.
Priya Tamasyaha.
Balade Prabhu, you can recite. Asade Prabhu.
Tita tapatram jagraha.
Sita tapatram jagraha.
Mukta dhamma vibhushitam.
Mukta dhamma vibhushitam.
Ratna dandam gudakesha.
Ratna dandam gudakesha.
Priya priya tamasyaha.
Priya priya tamasyaha. Okay, Guru Maharaj, please go ahead.
Okay. Synonym. Sita
Sita,
Atapatram.
Sita atapatram.
Soothing umbrella.
Soothing umbrella.
Jagraha.
Jagraha.
Took up.
Took up.
Mukta Dhamma.
Mukta dharma.
Decorated with laces and pearls.
Decorated with laces and pearls.
Vibhushitam.
Vibhushitam.
Embroidered.
Embroidered.
Ratnadandam.
Ratnam dandam.
The handle of jewels.
With the handle of jewels.
Gudakesha.
Gudakesha.
Arjuna, the expert warrior, or one who has conquered sleep.
Arjuna, the expert warrior, or one who has conquered sleep.
Priya,
Priya,
most beloved.
most beloved.
Priyatamasya,
Priyatamasya,
of the most beloved.
of the most beloved.
So he did.
So he did.
At that time, Arjuna, the expert warrior and conqueror of sleep, who was the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels, and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Somebody want to repeat it?
Maharaj, please repeat. Bhakti Damodara Swami Maharaj, please.
At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, who is the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels. I was embroidered with lace and pearls.
Thank you, Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, please can go ahead.
Court. Gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in luxurious royal ceremonies. They are all nature's gifts and are produced by the order of the Lord. When man does not waste his valuable time in producing unwanted things in the name of necessities. By so-called development of industrial enterprises, people are now using pots made of gutta percha instead of metals like gold, silver, brass, and copper. They are using margarine instead of pure butter, and 1/4 of the city has no shelter. All right. Omagana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksu Unmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapi Tam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Ti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Desatarine Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tvishe Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu, Jagat Pate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Guru Dina Tarine. Does anybody know what Gata Percha is?
Everyone is muted, Guru Maharaj.
Do you know? I never heard of it. Except here.
No, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. It's available on the internet. Gutta Percha is a tree. The name also refers to the rigid, naturally biologically inert, resilient, thermoplastic latex derived from this tree. It's the type of plastic or something that comes from a tree called Gutta Percha. So nowadays, many people don't know of anything else except plastic. We have, from the Bhagavatam, and like Arjuna is called Dhananjaya because he got the wealth. After the war, when the treasury was emptied out, war is very expensive, and they wanted to do all these big yagyas. So Arjuna found the gold. It was way in the mountain from thousands of years ago, yagya. And the king would give all golden plates to the brahmanas, all gold and everything. And they just left it behind. They would use it for eating once and then they just leave it. And it was in the mountains where people were civilized, nobody steal it. So Arjuna, it's the property of the king, so Arjuna went and got it. And Prabhupada says now they're using, before they were using gold and throwing it away, and now they're using plastic and reusing it. Like I saw in Africa, the basic plates are all plastic, and we just use them over and over again. So that plastic is very muchi, but that's what we have. And then other things are mentioned here. And these wonderful things, the gold, jewel, are very hard to find. Of course, in Ghana, we have a lot of gold, but it's not really helping the mass of people very much. somebody's making profit from the gold mine, probably some foreign companies. All these things which, are good, and they have spirit, they have not spiritual power, but they have power to make things good. These are nature's gifts. What to speak of, first class fruits and vegetables and all these things which are becoming less and less available. Producing in the name of things people need, unwanted things in the name of necessities, which you could go on and on and on, like beer and whiskey, packaged food, and so many insane things. Even in South India, where they always had brass pots, metal, they're using plastic. They think it's better. In India, I guess in Africa also, they repair a plastic bucket, they melt some plastic and patch it up. And you didn't have to do that when you were using metal stuff, but now it's hard to get. Margarine, many people don't know. They never had butter in their life. They don't even know what it is. Margarine is a byproduct invented, when I was a kid. And I remember I never wanted it. I saw the ads on TV and how it's better than butter and it spreads. Yeah, it just didn't look very good. It's one molecule different than plastic, very unhealthy, so many chemicals and processes to make it out of vegetable oil. So this is the Kali Yuga. And also education, which is even more far out, but education, of course, everybody needs some education to do some sort of a trade, some sort of work, whatever their dharma is. If they need some education. Traditionally, everywhere, sons just work with their father, mothers, children, girls worked with their mother, and they learned how to do what was necessary to live comfortably. Now they're trying to give everybody the same education in the schools. So there's a lot of frustration because everybody's not the same. And there's no spiritual education. In America, it's illegal to teach any spiritual in the schools, even to teach, the theory, so-called theory of creationism. It's illegal to preach it because you're religious. You can't teach that, what to speak or preach it. You can't even teach it that there is such an idea. Only Darwin, only evolution, godless evolution. Darwin's theory boils down to everything comes from nothing. Same like Buddhist. There's really nothing, but everything came from it. And big scientists keep coming up with new versions of that. My godbrother Vyasaki Prabhu, he wrote one book. One big scientist, I can't remember his name now, died recently, considered some kind of mathematical genius. He discovered black holes, and then he later said there's no black holes. The whole idea of black holes became a big topic. Then he said there aren't any. So his latest one was some kind of theory that there's originally nothing everywhere, but somehow there's gravity. He doesn't say where gravity can come from, but gravity extracts from nothing universes. I know this sounds completely crazy, but this is supposed to be the big famous scientist. And people speculate and talk about it. So many scientists reject it on so many different scientific bases. but still it gets taught that there's nothing, but somehow there's gravity. And usually we're taught that gravity is comes from a mass of something, that has this force like magnetism. It's actually Balaram holding everything together. But anyway, gravity pulls out from nothing something and creates many different universes. And all the universes have different laws of nature. And it's all complete speculation, but he becomes very famous. And then Prabhupada says 1/4 of the city population has no shelter. Now, that's, I don't know if it's 1/4. In some cities, it may be. People don't have a proper house, they have something, but they don't really have shelter. They don't have proper income. They don't get good food. They don't get medical care, and at least in America. And I think it's the same in West Africa. It's some percentage in New York City here. So many homeless. Everywhere you go, there's just homeless people camped out, just lying on the sidewalk. Some of them have a lot of things they carry around, and they collect plastic, and then they cash it in to get some intoxication or something. But sometimes you see them sleeping even when it's cold, just right on the cement. They're so intoxicated they don't feel it. They're not being taken care of. But other people are driving by in Rolls Royce cars and, all kinds of designer clothes and living in penthouse apartments. And they just kind of tune out all these other people that are suffering. So it's Kali Yuga. And we can go on and on. We just have to get faith in Lord Chaitanya's movement. Like we develop a little compassion, but what can we do? We can't rescue everybody. We can't rescue all the cows from the slaughterhouse. You might be able to rescue one cow from the slaughterhouse. Devotees do that, or a few cows. But in America, there's many slaughterhouses are killing 10,000 cows every day. Very automated, very efficient. But we can do everything we can to spread the holy name and spread the Bhagavad Gita so that, that can uplift the consciousness of people. And then naturally things are going to get better. When the consciousness of people gets elevated, then everything can get better. So I was listening yesterday, Prabhupada is talking about his association with his spiritual master. This is from a Bhakti Siddhanta Day, Appearance Day lecture in 1976 in Mayapur. So I'm just going to read it. There's no need of establishing many temples. Prabhupada had come from Bombay and met his spiritual master, and some friend of his wanted to donate land for a Gaudiya Math temple. So Bhakti Siddhanta took it. It was Prabhupada's, but he said there's no need of many temples. Better we publish some books. He said like that. He said, we started as Gaudiya Math in Uttadanga. The rent was very, very small, and we could gather 2 to 250 rupees. It was very nice going on. But since then, J.B. Datta has given us this marble stone, Thakur Body, our competition between it, disciples has increased, so I don't like anymore. So this was what he told Prabhupada other times also, that everybody was preaching when they had this very small house. When you go to Calcutta, you can visit it. A very small house, but many brahmacharis were living there and everybody was going out preaching. Then they got a very nice marble temple. And the sannyasis started hustling for who gets which room and which position and, you know, and competition, he's saying, between the disciples. So he got Bhaktisiddhanta didn't like it. Rather, I would prefer to take out the marble and sell it and publish some books. So at that point, he also especially advised me, if you get money, try to publish books. So by his blessings, it has become very successful by your cooperation. Now our books are being sold all over the world, and it is a very satisfactory sale. So on this particular day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's advent, try to remember his words, that he wanted that many books should be published about our philosophy, and it should be given to the English knowing public especially, because English language is now world language. We are touring all over the world. So anywhere we speak English, it is understood, except in some places. So on this day, particularly on the advent of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I would especially request my disciples who are cooperating with me that try to publish books, as many as possible, and distribute them throughout the whole world. That will satisfy Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Thank you very much. So that's, our message, and we keep repeating it, right? Because, we've got a few devotees in the world, but for the most part, hardly anybody knows about Hare Krishna. Everywhere we go, even our neighbors, they hardly know, what we're doing. So we have to, of course, read the books. We have to know the philosophy. We have to learn so that when we can teach it. Just one devotee here, and he was in New York, and now he's in Atlanta, Georgia. And he was a top book distributor in the world. And in August, he did one day 700 books. One day 38 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. Just amazing enthusiasm. But he joined, he was a student here in New York City, New York University, and that's very near where the devotees do their Harinam. So he saw the Harinam, devotees just sitting and chanting Hare Krishna, and he was attracted, and he joined. And now he's become such a monster book distributor, and he's trained up others and inspiring many others. So we can't think that, my thing is too small, or we don't know what's going to come out of it, whatever we're doing, little Harinam, one book distributed here, little food for life, preaching to a few students in some university. It's all pleasing to the Lord, so therefore it's all auspicious. And we don't have, start small. We were just observing this last month, Srila Prabhupada's leaving India to go to America. Nobody was there to greet. Nobody knew he cared, or nobody knew, just the people on the ship. And I think his son was there. maybe one other man just to help him find his way so he gets on the right ship. And when he arrived in America, no one was there to greet him except the tourist agent that put him on the bus all by himself, an all-night bus ride so he could go to, the small house where the Indian man was sponsoring him. But that's very small. It is, and people just as a curiosity, one old sadhu from India, no one had ever seen one before in America. But look what happened. Now there's millions of devotees, millions of books, hundreds of temples, actually thousands of temples. If we count all the home temples, there's so many thousands. I've seen many devotees that have home temples, much more opulent than the temple in that area. Or, devotees worshiping hundreds of Shalagram Shilas, and they're really doing it. They're singing bhajan all day, and they're, preaching, bringing people to their house. So but it's definitely a very small start. Prabhupada went in like a needle and came out like a plow. Sometimes we think we have to go in like a bulldozer. And if we try to do that, we're going to come out like a needle where nobody's going to notice us. We'll make a big stink for a little while and then disappear. We just keep doing whatever we can. Get out, meet people. Inquire submissively, especially by reading the books, because by reading the books, we can find the answers to all questions, spiritual and material, actually. We should try to avoid, these Kali Yuga things like too much plastic and margarine and now it's not even powdered milk, it's soy milk and rice milk and all kinds of so-called milk, and so-called butter and so-called cheese and on and on and on. They're just trying to eliminate cows and natural things. You buy everything from a factory. If you're in West Africa, well, even then there's so many, chips and potato chips and this and biscuits and so many things coming from factories cooked with, by machines, all by people working with very low consciousness. Many of it's imported from faraway countries. And that's everywhere in the world. You go in the supermarket and so many things are, already made. Rich people have their microwave oven. And they buy something that was made in England that, if they live in India, think it's high class, but it's old and stale and dead. Poor people are more fortunate. They can only afford fresh food. But we can only do so much to, help one by one, to help people. We can change the atmosphere of the world by this Sankirtan movement. And as you read Prabhupada's books, listen to Prabhupada's lectures, you're going to hear that more and more. And Prabhupada says that repeatedly. It wasn't that he's just self-aggrandizement. It's just a fact. I know in Nigeria, many times when we got interviewed, what are you going to do about the poverty? And I told them the poverty is not the problem. The poor people are not the problem. The poor people are the problem is the rich people that are taking so much more than their necessary share. They're thinking everything belongs to me. And that's everywhere in the world. In America, a very small percentage of people control about 90% of the wealth and the land, and they run the banks and all the, everybody's in debt so that they can live apparently comfortably. So we had, if the atmosphere of the world changes and people can develop some kind of compassion, some kind of feeling to help others, then they can, instead of government people just taking all the tax money or whatever money comes in and just using it for their own purposes, their own holidays. And I remember last time I was in Nigeria, I think it was, some politician had imported for himself 17 luxury cars. Some governor or something. It was a big thing, very expensive cars. And this goes on everywhere. Some places the corruption is very public and blatant. Sometimes it's very expertly covered over. But it can change by purifying the people. Whoever wants to hear a little bit, whoever is willing to hear a little bit about Krishna, tell them about Krishna. Give them a book. Let the book do the work. We can only do so much. But if they read Prabhupada's books, they can get so much benefit. And the more we have kirtan in the public, that very sound vibration is purifying everything. And if the people that happen to hear it, and if they happen to carry on a little bit, then all the better, they're gonna. Okay, so we always get a lot of questions, so I thought I'd stop a little sooner.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. We already have some hands up already. Samuel Yamado, please, you can unmute yourself and ask Guru Maharaj your question. Hello, Samuel. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a network problem here. So we can carry on with the meeting. I will ask later, please.
So Guru Maharaj said if there's anybody who have a question, you can okay, Saturday, Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. Good to see you again. Maharaj, I might be wrong, but I think the Gadapacha is quite a common plant in Ghana. Most Ghanaians might know it. We call it a rubber plant. They cut along the bark, and then they put something to collect the sap, and that's what they use to manufacture rubber.
Yeah, instead of metal and all those things.
Yeah, and I remember some time ago.
That's what I read.
Yeah, Srivas Manachari Prabhu was saying, actually it is said that this age of Kali, which is an age of iron, but we've deteriorated so much to the point that it's actually plastic. So that is very interesting. I just wanted to say that. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Something,
Thank you very much, Saturday, Prabhu. So any other question from the audience? Man, nobody seems to be raising hand.
Nobody this time?
Adoshaji Prabhu, please ask your question. Adoshaji Prabhu, please ask your question.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, you have talked about distribution of Srila Prabhupada book, but we can see with the advancement of technology, people now are reluctant to read book. They prefer go to the internet, informatic. Then we see that distribution of book have become very difficult to do, especially here in West Africa. Then what technique you can use to do it that people will be able to, we can distribute more and more book? That is my question.
Well,
Hare Krishna.
it depends on us, Like in America, you can say that also, but the book distribution is increasing. For a while, devotees were thinking like that. And then, of course, if you're thinking like that, and don't say it's now because of technology, because my experience is ever since I've come to West Africa, everybody said can't. People aren't interested. People can't read. People don't have money. But that's everywhere. It's not everybody, but there are people that really want it. There are such things. So we just have to have faith. We have to read the books ourselves, or
Uh, Ghost of Ofori, please, can you unmute yourself? Can I ask you a question? Well,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, please.
Okay, I joined a little late, so I hope my question may not be related to the current discussion, but I hope it's okay. My question is, in America, for example, when they go to war, let's say they go to war in Vietnam, when they went to Vietnam, some people died over there. Sometimes they see the bones of the people and they bring it all the way down to America to bury the person, even though the person might have died, maybe the person may have died maybe 10, 20 years ago. My question is, let's say you're from India, you go to Nigeria and you die in Nigeria. Is it really necessary to bring you back to India to bury you, or can the person be buried anywhere? And if that's the, or if you're not brought to your home country to get buried, does it affect your soul journey in the afterworld or anything like that? I hope.
Yeah. That's a good question. Because we run into that all the time in West Africa, that the family wants to bring the body back to the village and have the local funerals and everything and the burial. And so it actually for the soul, no, that doesn't make any difference, although we prefer cremation. And if we can put the ashes in the sacred river, that's ideal, but that sometimes we can't do that either. But we have to consider, it's the sentiment of the people. They like you said about Vietnam, I think still they have families looking for, remnants of somebody that's missing in action from Vietnam, which was 50 years ago or something. So more than 50 years. So, that's bodily consciousness, not at all necessary for the soul. We want to benefit the soul, chant Hare Krishna, and pray for the benefit of that soul, that he can get a better, because he's already gone on to someplace else. The body is just the remnants, but people want to do something. So in any culture, in Vedic culture, we want to cremate the body and do something with the ashes. I know in Japan, they keep the ashes of their father in the house. They have a little altar. They offer some incense there.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Ganesh Akshi Prabhu, please, you can unmute yourself and ask Guru Maharaj your question.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. Address to you, Krishna Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, nowadays we hear the modern human being saying that civilization is actually advancing. But if you read stories of the ancient times, what we value so much now was nothing. For instance, we suffer so much to get gold, diamond, and all these precious stones. But in ancient times, these things were very common. Now we spend so much money to build high buildings. In ancient times, they were not having bulldozers and excavators and all that, but they were building very sophisticated buildings. So is it truly true that civilization is actually advancing or we are actually deteriorating? Hare Krishna.
No, we're going backwards. There's, you can see many doctors say like America spends the most money of any country on health, so-called health care and they have the most sickness, diseases are increasing more and more. So that's a problem. So they're really going backwards. There's more stress, more anxiety. Quality of the air is getting ruined. The quality of the food, quality of the water. You have to buy water in a bottle, and in Japan they have bars where people pay to breathe some oxygen. So they've advanced in what way? We can move faster to go nowhere. In traffic jams and anxiety, and so anyway, it's just, but there's no spiritual advancement. Where are they headed at the end of this life? Going to the graveyard. Everyone's going to end up somehow buried or burnt or eaten by dogs, or depending on where they are. What's going to happen to those souls? What kind of body are they going to get? The so-called advancement. They made advancement. Now abortion is very cheap and safe and fast. They've made weapons that can kill so many people at one time. They can so-called go to the moon and other planets, but their own citizens are starving or not getting any health care when they're sick. And old people are left abandoned. Babies are killed in the womb. What kind of advancement is that? It's advancement in the wrong direction. It's like sometimes there's a few stories of a football game where some guy gets the ball and he runs and he does a spectacular run and he scores a goal on the wrong end of the field, scores for the other team. And his own team was trying to stop him, but he didn't notice. He was just running like crazy. So that's the kind of advancement they're making. All right.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, we have some question in the chat room also. So somebody said, good evening, Maharaj. My name is Eric Ba Gapato from Ghana. From Ghana, Chakshu Das is my master. I want to become like one of you. How can I do that? And why I cannot be a member of, how can I be a member of Hare Krishna?
Well, you just have to chant Hare Krishna. That's basically what we tell everybody. That's the first step. Regularly find some way to associate with devotees. Like that's one advancement that's favorable now, is that no matter where we are, we can somehow associate by online, you know.
So we have more to answer. DJ Rash Cool, please unmute yourself and answer your question. Hello, DJ Rash Cool, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Hello, Mr. Nana Botang, please, you can ask your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I have a question. I joined this pretty late because I was busy working, but I have a question that is not related to what Master was talking about. But I hope if it's okay, I can still ask it. I understand all living things have life forms. My question is, what is the lowest state of consciousness of being among all living beings? I know the highest state of consciousness is going back to the source. Now, I know if human live on earth presently and unable to balance your karma, you're going to come back. You're going to reincarnate. My question is, does the other life forms also incarnate, especially the lower state of consciousness? If my question is clear.
Yeah, well, yeah, the souls are always changing bodies. So you can say incarnated, yeah. That like the soul in the lower form is by evolution, they move up. The next life they get a different body. So there are living entities even in like a stone, they have almost no consciousness, but they're still living entities. Not all stones, not all mountains, but some are growing. So there's a soul there. Yes. And some go down. In the animal forms, they're always moving up. And all the other lower forms of life, they're always moving up. In the human form, because one can be very sinful and do things which are really not good, they can go down. from human life down to lower forms of life if they live totally in the mode of ignorance. Okay, that's a good question. The soul is eternal, and the soul is according to desires, we get different bodies. So we see so many different species, even on Earth, even in one country, so many different types of fruits and vegetables and this and that. All right, is that clear, or you want a little more?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. We have another question from Nana Boateng. Nana Boateng, please unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I just asked a question, and he was Master was asking, and I was I'm going to top it up. Do the plants also evolve? He says the evolution keeps on. Do they also, let's say there's a life form in a certain plant, after his time, can they evolve into a higher consciousness?
They always are automatically.
Okay.
And now, if a devotee takes the fruit or the flowers of the plant and offers it to Krishna, it can evolve much faster.
Okay.
It gives a benefit. So that's special mercy of devotees' activities, that they offer fruits or the flowers or the milk or whatever to Krishna. Then that animal that gave the milk or the fur, you know, like a sheep, they just shave it. And the sheep gets benefit if devotees use that product. So if you pick the flowers and offer to Krishna, or you pick the mangoes or the whatever fruit, bananas or anything and offer to Krishna, then the soul in that tree can become human or even go get a spiritual, heavenly body or something much better. They can jump. If you give prasadam to a dog or a duck or a monkey, then it can move up much faster than it normally would by normal evolution.
Thank you, Gurudev. Dr. George Amega, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah. I represent Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All right, please, can you hear me?
Go on, yes.
Okay. Well, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter number 11, text number 14, it is said that Brahmanas should not be taxed or levied. That is in the glorious days. But of late, we see Brahmanas earning a living and much more they are working. So my question now is, can they be taxed now or the rule remain the same? Hare Krishna.
Okay, you always have a lot of questions. Can you repeat it a little slower?
My question is, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter 11, text number 14, as it said that the Brahmanas should not be levied or should not be taxed. They shouldn't be taxed. Okay. That is, yeah. So my question is, nowadays that the Brahmanas, they are earning a living. Some of them, they are even working. Can they be taxed now since they are earning a living, working on their own? Or the rule remains the same as in the days of the glorious days? That's my question, Guru Maharaj.
Well, Krishna says, Chaturvarnam Mayagu, Shristam, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. A Brahmin is a Brahmin according to the work he's doing, not according to the family he was born in. So sometimes someone's born in a family, but they're not really Brahminical, they're Sudras. Sometimes someone's born in a Sudra family, but they're very Brahminical. So they should be accepted for the nature by their guna and their karma, their qualities and their work. You understand?
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Because there's so many people, they're proud I'm a Brahmin, but they're
Okay.
working Sudra. Engineers and bankers and, you know, all kinds of things that are, it's not Brahminical work. And
Okay,
the
Guru Maharaj.
devotee is above the Brahmins, even though he, whatever kind of work he's doing, he's a Vaishnava, so he's better above the Brahmins.
Another question is from Jerry Agbemat. Yes, please unmute.
Hi, good evening, Guru Maharaj. My name is Jerry. I'm a member of Transformation 108, and Jana Chakrishdas is the one we are studying under. I want to find out things that have become extinct. How will we call that? We know of dinosaurs and stuff that has become extinct. Does that mean that they've been fully evolved? That's why they no more exist? Thank you.
I didn't catch a few words there. Something has become what?
When some things have become extinct, they no longer exist, like some animals are hardly to be found again in the world. Does it mean they have fully evolved?
Well, yeah, some different types of bodies. There's 8,400,000 species. They're not all on Earth. They're all over the universe. But yeah, for various reasons, some are not present. They were present, but they're not anymore. So that particular body may be somewhere else, maybe not. But the soul is moved on somewhere. The souls are never destroyed. So I don't know how they count, but you know, they're saying it's so many different species on Earth are going extinct every year because of the humans destroying the environment of so many different creatures. So they can't, that particular type of body can't function anymore. But the souls are somewhere. That type of body may be on other planets, may not be. That I don't know. So that's why we had to work on elevating people, you know, beyond this terrible so-called civilization. All right.
Yes, Kumraj, I have one question from the paper. The last line, Prabhupada is saying that 1/4 of the city population has no shelter. And there are people who are campaigning that the world is overpopulated. Is it due to the new members here? Is it due to the overpopulation of the world that people don't have shelter? What can be done?
No. It's because of the bad population. Like I said, that the certain strong are exploiting the weak. And so some of the weak, they just get left behind. Some people have way too much shelter. If you think of house, you know, there are many houses, or they have these big houses and only 2 people live in it, or 1 person lives in it, and they're fighting with each other, you know. So it's not because there's too many people. If you have 2 low-class people in one place, they'll fight, they'll make trouble, they won't, it'll be not a nice place. If you have good people, they can figure out how to cooperate and how to work together and take care of each other and live proper life. And as far as food, right now, they calculate that the earth is producing food enough for 3 times the population, but it's not getting distributed properly. Some countries hoarding so much food. they're throwing it in the ocean surplus so that they can keep the prices up, and they're not sharing it with the needy people. That's the problem. Bad people. It's not that there's too many people. It could be much more. You can travel in any country. I've been traveling a little bit in America, in every country I've been in, and there's just forests and nice fertile land, but people are packed together in the cities fighting with each other so that they can go to the clubs and the bars and the cinemas and the restaurants and all this, drive cars around. It looks bad, but really it's just that they're misusing all the resources. That's the problem.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, and you have a family, right? 5 or 6 people. So your mother cooks, and then one of the family comes in and takes most of the food and runs away with it. Then the others won't get it. It's not because there's too many people in the family. It's just that one is a thief. One is eating it all before anyone else gets there.
My second question is on the translation. You say, at that time, Jonah, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep. So my question is, how does a new devotee, or how does devotees conquer sleep to be like Jonah?
By practice, but don't worry about it yet. We have to sleep enough. When it says sleep, in one way it means ignorance, not just physical sleeping, but ignorance. Most people are sleepwalking. They're not physically asleep. They're walking around, they're working, they're having sex, they're eating and sleep, but they're really sleeping. They're in total ignorance. The soul is asleep. They don't know what they're doing. So I have to sleep, but I even have trouble sleeping properly these days because of the body is not working properly. Prabhupada slept very little, but he did sleep, so-called sleep. All right, so conquer ignorance by developing knowledge. Stay in the light of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Gurudev. The absence of no question, we will ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves. And let's chant Hare Krishna to Maharaj for coming.
What is it?
Oh, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna.
Hare 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 Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, And I'm going to be hey. Gonna holiday. Gonna holiday. Maybe I'm the too much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
This transcendental vibration by chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method for reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual soul, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by material atmosphere. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in our complexities. This illusion is called Maya, our hard struggle for existence, for winning over the stringent laws of material nature. This illusory struggle against material nature can at once be stopped by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and the process is recommended by authorities for this age. By practical experience also, we can perceive that by chanting this Maha Mantra or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel transcendental ecstasy from the spiritual status. When one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of sense, mind and intelligence, one is situated on transcendental plane. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, surpassing all lower status of consciousness, namely sensual, mental and intellectual. There is no need of understanding the language of the mantra, nor there is any need of mental speculation, nor any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Maha Mantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in this transcendental sound vibration without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen it practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. The chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, so that immediate effect can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided, as much as milk touched by the lips of a serpent causes poisonous effect. The word Hara is the form of adoration, the energy of the Lord. Both Krishna and Rama are form of addressing directly the Lord, and they mean the highest pleasure eternal. Hara is the supreme pleasure potency of the Lord. This potency, when addressed as Hare, helps us in reaching the supreme Lord. The material energy, called as Maya, is also one of the multi-potencies of the Lord, as much as we are also marginal potency of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior energy than matter.
When the superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, it becomes an incompatible situation. But when the supreme marginal potency is in contact with spiritual potency, Hara, it becomes the happy, normal condition of living entity. The three words, namely Hara, Krishna and Ram, are transcendental seeds of the Mahamantra, and the chanting is spiritual call for the Lord and his internal energy Hara for giving protection to the conditioned soul. The chanting is exactly like genuine cry by the child for mother. Mother Hara helps in achieving the grace of the Supreme Father Hari or Krishna, and the Lord reveals himself to such sincere devotees. No other means, therefore, of spiritual realization is as effective in this age as chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.